My name is Alex Hilton. I go to Christ the King here in Oklahoma City and St. Thomas More down in Norman, where I went to school and discovered the faith. I was born and raised in Southern California into a family that goes to Mass on Sundays. I was very blessed to go to Our Lady Queen of Angels Catholic school. From the time that I was young, Jesus captivated my imagination. But the biggest blessing, I think, of my childhood was a woman named Reina Chavez from Aguascalientes, Mexico. My parents hired Reina as a live-in nanny when she was a teenager. Reina's love for God and for Jesus was so full, so pure, and her love for me was so true. She used to tell me things like, Alejandrito, when we go to heaven, all we will want to do is pray and worship God. And when you're young and thinking like, well, I don't want to go there. We moved to Oklahoma City when I'm 12 in 2004. And I go to Christ the King for middle school. And then I go to Bishop McGinnis for high school. High school is rough because although my family has always gone to Mass on Sundays, our faith was largely nominal. It was something that wasn't on the forefront of our minds or in our hearts. And by the time I was an upperclassman, I lost faith completely. And I was just searching for love and happiness in all the wrong places out of my own insecurities, hanging out with a really rough crowd. Then I get to college at OU, where I got in the back door because high school had been such a mess. And I came to the full realization of how lonely and sad the life was that I had chosen for myself. I had all this new liberty to be the man that I choose to be. I had all these new friends that I had chosen for myself, friends that I had no real fulfilling or good relationship with. They were just friendships based on partying and, and so I just felt so isolated in such a beautiful environment where there's all these young, motivated people with great dreams and aspirations. And here I am feeling like I'm out on an island despite, having a regular group of people that I'm hanging out with. I was sad and I was lonely. And when you get sad and lonely, you start asking yourself big questions. Who am I? What's the meaning of my life? What's the purpose, the direction that my life is taking? And all of this kind of thing. As I'm kind of on this intellectual journey, like any freshman in college is, of discovering these kinds of things, I take a philosophy course, an intro to philosophy course, where I read Plato's Apology of Socrates before the Athenian Senate, okay? And I'm inspired by the way that Socrates would rather be put to death than to do something contrary to what his conscience tells him. And I can see how God wanted me to have the courage to obey my conscience at this time. Because as I was searching for him, I was asking anybody questions about God. I was trying to figure out the meaning of my life. I would ask, if you're a Buddhist, if you're a Muslim, if you're a Hindu, if you were seeking God, I wanted to know how to find him. And I began to hear Reina's voice in my heart because I remembered her love, and it was so substantially different than anything that I had at the time. And so Reina told me to pray, and if Reina said it, I should do that because I want what she's got. And so I began to pray, and I asked God, please send me real friends. And he did. Ask and you shall receive. My friends David Driscoll and JJ Padula, who I had been great friends with back in high school, came calling. And both just happened to want to recenter our relationship around the gospel of Jesus Christ and the teachings of the Catholic Church. There's this one Friday night in particular where David comes to hang out with me. And he spent many weekends with me. And here's the thing. At this point in my life, I had nothing good. I was unmotivated. I was depressed. I was sad. I was exiled. And David had so much going for him. He's bright. He played on the football team, which gives you access to anywhere you want to go in Norman, Oklahoma. Popular. And he could have done anything this Friday night, but he didn't want me to be alone. So he came and he hung out with me, just out of pure love. And he talked to me about his faith. He said, Al, if you want to be a man of God, this is going to be the hardest thing that you're ever going to do. But he believed in me. And after we got done eating dinner and I got done listening to him and his testimony about faith in Jesus, he left that night and I was just on the floor bawling. And I'm praying after he leaves in this blend of gratitude and sorrow, just thanking God. And as I do that, I encounter the Spirit of God for the first time. So after this experience, I saw that it was good to have friends who were centered on their faith. And I got involved in the community at St. Thomas More. The love of the brothers and sisters, the family that I inherited at St. Thomas More, was something so undeserved, unmerited, confusing. How could these kids love me so much when my lifestyle has been so prodigal that it drove me further into a search for Jesus Christ, the one who had taught them to love like this. I practiced my faith with a solid amount of devotion for about 2 years. I was going to daily mass and this kind of thing. And I felt holy, I felt good, I felt righteous. And then I slipped into old ways, into old temptations. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was in such despair. I thought that God couldn't forgive me. Like, there's no way. After all that He's given me, after the entirely new life, perhaps even like the seed to eternal life that He's given me, like that, I've just turned my back on it. I was searching through my mind for anything that would give me hope. And I remember that somewhere Jesus says, after Peter asks him, then who can be saved? He says, for human beings it's impossible, but with God all things are possible. I go to Our Lady of Lebanon to say confession because I was too ashamed to go to my regular confessor, Father Jim. And I come back to St. Thomas More for Mass that day. And do you know what the only thing that I heard was when I walked into that church? For human beings, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible, because I was late for Mass that day. I found out later that the Mass started late, actually. I was sitting in the back of this church, stunned that I heard this. And, so like, it's true. Wow, God has really forgiven me, and He's just given me this obvious confirmation about it. And the next morning I wake up, and as I'm praying, it's like the heavens are open. God reveals the greatest gift to me. March 3rd, 2014. Jesus says, nobody knows the Son except the Father, and nobody knows the Father except the Son, and those to whom He wishes to reveal Him. And that was my experience. It was a free gift from God. It's not something that anybody deserves or merits or earns. He just really gave it to me. After this experience, my life changed radically. It gave me a new orientation. I had been devout before, so I thought, but now I understood that we do this in love for God, not just in religious zeal. And I began to seriously consider being a priest. I didn't pray about it, my vocation, nearly enough, but I reflected on it a lot. And I was saying, like, is this something that I can do? Is this, yeah, maybe I'm called to be a priest. And it's something that I'm still discerning, to ask God, is this the way that you want me to love you? And so here I am. I'm 23 years old, and I'm still seeking the fullness of God's presence. But what I know is that if we maintain our Catholic faith, our devotion to God, and do not doubt in His forgiveness, eternity is there for the taking. Just follow Christ. I am Alex Hilton, and I am Catholic.